Everybody, welcome back to 3-Day Weekend. So happy to have you again. I'm here with Laraine, out on location in beautiful Assateague Island, Maryland. Pretty much like camping on a desert island, but the beach is right over there, so that's cool. No hookups, running the generator, but I digress. Had a problem with Laraine. She would only build up about 20 pounds of boost before it would give up. Other than that, it worked fine. No check engine light or anything, just clearly down on power. Good news is I've already fixed it. I know exactly what the problem is. I'm going to show you what we did, how we figured it out, and ultimately what the fix was. So let's do it. And just like that, I'm back home, which confirmed the issue that I fixed at the on the island really was the issue, and everything is fine now. All my boost is back and we're good to go. So symptoms were everything was running well. There was no check engine light. There was really no indication that there was anything wrong, but I was pulling my 40-foot fifth wheel back here, and I noticed it just didn't have the power, the torque that I'm used to. If you've ever towed something heavy and you're going through the gears, this is 6-speed standard, you'll know when you hit the top end of a gear, the whole truck it just lifts up. And that's the real pulling power that I'm used to with this 5.9 Cummins. And it wasn't doing that anymore. It was pulling it, and it was pulling it fine, but really that torque was missing all that strength. I didn't really know what was going on. It wasn't until I was looking at my gauges that I realized exactly what was happening. Here are the gauges I run. This is a Smarty Touch. I don't run any tunes in it. Since I blew up the motor, you'll have to see a prior video on that rebuild. That was super awesome fun. And I changed some of these numbers around, but the one I always have right here in the top right, that is boost. And I'm always watching, just kind of keeping an eye on that number, which usually goes up. It'll go into the 30s, 32, 34 on occasion. Never anything more than 34 and change. Rarely it goes above 30 at all, but this was only ever hitting about 20, 21, maybe 22, even at full load in fifth gear, really pulling hard. I just could not get the boost that I'm used to. Obviously, if your boost is down, your power's down. So I knew there was something wrong with my boost. So down on boost. Normally, that means you've got a boost leak somewhere, especially since there's no check engine light for it. Sorry, my kid's driving by on a side-by-side. So I'm thinking I've got a boost leak or something. I have a boost leak detector. Of course, it was up at my house. My dad was coming down on a trip, and he brought that down to me. So I was able to do a boost leak test right there, also on the island. Check out my other video if you haven't. It's this little tool. You take off the intake and you put compressed air and it checks the whole thing. And to my disappointment and my surprise, boost leak came back clean. There's nothing wrong. Nothing was leaking. So that's not it. Where's my boost going? We had to dig a little bit deeper into that. So if your turbo's okay, which I'm assuming it is at that point. This truck has 120-some thousand miles on it right now. These turbos are known to go a lot longer than that, especially if you haven't messed with them, and mine's stock. I did the tuning thing a couple years back. Other than that, it's been stock. So where's your boost going? Well, now we're looking into the wastegate. There is the wastegate, which is controlled by an actuator, controlled by an actuator solenoid, and that will dump your boost when it needs to. And that's down underneath. So let's go into the truck. I'll show you what we're talking about. Passenger side behind the axle. From here, I'm looking at the bottom of the turbocharger. This is the exhaust side, the hot side. And this little lever right here that's controlled by this arm up here, this is your wastegate. And this arm runs up to the actuator, and there's this little spring right here that's holding the whole thing together. So what we did is we popped that little clip off, pulled the actuator arm off of this, and then held it closed with a piece of wire. And by holding it closed, we are not letting that wastegate open, and we took it out on a quick test drive, no trailer, just to see if I was able to build more than 20 pounds of boost. And to my surprise, we did. We were able to get the full 30 pounds on it, no problem. So something is making my wastegate open when it shouldn't be opening. Once we had it down to that, we knew we were on the right track. Now we're back up to the top of the turbo, and the only way to see it is to take your air intake off. Mine's not factory, but yours should be close. 5/16 nut driver, which I always carry in my toolbox, and that will be enough to pop the intake off real quick. Just going to get this tube off. If you've done a leak down test or a boost leak test, this will already be off. So I'm going to pop this off real quick, just so I can show you the top or the front of that turbo a little bit better. And in we go. This is the intake of the turbocharger. If you've already done your boost leak test with the apparatus, that's where it attaches. There it is. Go see one of my other videos. It'll be in the Laraine playlist if you want to check that out. So we got that out of the way, and we're left with two parts. We have this actuator, and we have the actuator solenoid. Now this actuator has the arm I showed you that goes back and controls your wastegate, and the solenoid allows air, or maybe I should say blocks the air from getting to your actuator, because at 20 psi it's going to want to charge the actuator and relieve pressure. But the solenoid is controlled by the computer and allows it to stay closed longer to give you more boost, and then your computer can open it when you get up into the 30s, low 30s, right around 30. So that is what happens with the solenoid. Now that solenoid down there is awfully pretty. And that is because I got a new one. Here's my old one. That is awfully rusted out. But that's what the inside looks like. It's got some sort of hollowed point with holes in it. And it is open. I'm assuming pressure is coming in through here, and it can get through here and work down. Oh, but there's more holes in here. I don't know. But from what I understand, when this is just sitting here not doing anything, it is open. So it can allow boost to go through and open the wastegate. And I'm sure people are going to be able to comment with exactly the specs. I don't know. All the knowledge I have on how this works was gained on the island, working on the truck, which is super fun. But the truck can control this and say electronically, you know what, I need more boost. Stay closed. Do not open that wastegate until I tell you. And that allows you to build up boost. So if you're missing it, this could be your culprit. Now I looked online and found that there were a couple on there for a couple $100 or so. Seemed like a lot of money for that part. So we went down to the Napa that was local. And oh my gosh, they had one, and the thing retails list price. I'm not joking. $919 for this part. He gave me a screaming deal. I was able to pick it up for about half of that, but geez, that's an expensive part. If it had broken at home, I'd order one of the ones on Amazon or Rock Auto or what have you. But you had to have it. To get the old one off, pipe wrench. Went to the Home Depot, bought a 24-inch standard plumber's pipe wrench, and was able to twist that off of there. It just screws in, you see the threads. But it didn't want to go. We soaked it in PB Blaster for a bit before I hit it with that wrench, and it turned right out. New one, we threaded it in, wrapped it with a towel, used pliers to put that back in, and it seated perfectly. This does have some cuts onto it, so you can get in there with a really thin box end of some size, but the pipe wrench did the job, did it well. So now I'm building full boost. I got all of my power back, my fuel economy came back, everything I was missing came back by replacing that one part. One other side note I did want to mention, after we were playing with it and we had run the test and wired that gate closed and went out and made sure that it was developing boost, on the way back from that test drive, with the solenoid still in place screwed in, I did get a code P0243, open or shorted condition detected in the Turbocharger Wastegate Solenoid. So it did eventually throw a code, but I drove 400 towing miles with no check engine light whatsoever. So I don't know if it knew it right away, or maybe with us being down there and messing with it, tinkering with it, it finally finished it off. But it did eventually throw that code, so that might be a giveaway if that's what your problem is. Hopefully it does, because without the gauges, how are you supposed to know that that's what your problem is, other than it just felt like it was down on power? But that could be a plethora of things, who knows. But that's it. We got her running, got all my power back. I do have another problem, but that's another video episode we'll do in a little bit. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of my viewers, all of our subscribers. If this helps you in any way, if you don't mind clicking that super thanks button, we really appreciate that. And be sure to subscribe while you're here. Thanks again so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you again in another video right here on 3-Day Weekend.